So I just thought I'd take a moment to talk to you about how I started running and what I did completely wrong, and what I would do differently if I had my time again. So there is already a video on the channel of my running history, and I'll put a link to that somewhere up above. And if you really want to go back in the archives, you can actually see my running from day one, because it is documented on there, every session I ever did from the moment I started running. And that includes, I think, one of the first videos where I'm on a treadmill running in just a pair of shoes. They're not even running trainers, they're just ones I picked up cheap, and I don't even think they were right size, but that's how I started. And so brings me on to my first point. When I first started running, I didn't actually realise you needed to get specific shoes. I just thought you could get yourself a pair of size 10s in my case, and then just start running and that would be absolutely fine. But I later found out that wasn't the case. So the first thing I'd recommend is, if you are going to start running, go to a sports shop, get a gait analysis and find out which shoes are suited to your feet. That will save you a lot of trouble, a lot of blisters, a lot of pain, a lot of problems in the long run. So I would recommend doing that first of all. The second thing I did, which I think was completely incorrect, but I knew the different, was I just started running around the block where I lived, and my only aim was just to go further and faster every time I went out running. I had no plan in mind of how that was even going to happen. I just assumed it would happen just by me constantly running the same route all the time. First of all, it's very boring, and secondly, it doesn't really achieve much at all. So something else that I would not recommend, which is why this Couch 5K is actually really good, because it starts you off with a little bit of discipline, a bit of routine, and it gets you started in running. All I would say on that matter though is that you do need a certain level of fitness before you even get going, because doing a 60-second run, 9-second rest for 5 times is not the easiest thing to do if you've never done any sort of running before. So bear that in mind, but I wish I had done that initially rather than just doing what I did. So it wasn't until I started training for a marathon, and I think it was quite a good move by me just to book a marathon with absolutely no understanding of what the distance even looked like or felt like. So I booked the marathon first of all, and then I decided I'd just throw myself headlong into training. My uncle found out about it. He had run the London Marathon 4 times and was aiming for a 4 hour 30 finish, or faster than that, which he did actually do. But I started training him in the January, sort of as part of that kind of 16-week plan, or whatever the plan was at the time. And at that point, I had run a number of sort of 10k-ish distances, but again, didn't really understand the distance thing, didn't really understand pace at all. Didn't even have a watch to track pace. Oh, here we go. We're going to start on the Couch 5k now. Sorry, I'll catch up with you in a moment. Okay, where was I? Didn't have a watch, didn't have a clue, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what the distance was going to be like, had no idea. Started training with my uncle. I remember him telling me, and it wasn't until recently I even really realised what that meant. He started saying, for the long runs we need to be training like a minute slower than our race pace, and I thought, I don't know what you're talking about there, I'm just training for 5:30 here, I'll be able to hold that, which in the end I wasn't able to do. But again, naivety, didn't really have a clue what pace meant, and so I started training with him, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that training plan in a moment as well. Okay, so in terms of the training, what did it look like? During the week I was doing some speed sessions. Didn't really understand what I was doing there either. Same with hill sessions. I knew what a hill was, but didn't really have a clue what I was supposed to do with it. Basically, I fumbled my way through the training, with the only real saving grace being the long runs that weekend, which I did in partnership with my uncle, and occasionally with some of his friends as well. So I got an understanding of what the distance felt like and the pace, but we were still spending a bit too much time at race pace instead of running slower, which is what I've learned in my ultra training to be even more beneficial. So if I was to do that again, I would definitely recommend reducing the pace down. So I got through that training block. Oh, halfway on Couch 5k, hear the bell. Got through the training block, did a couple of warm-up half marathons, actually did back-to-back half marathons, which was great, which was good. Did I think 3 20-mile runs. The first one was evil, that really hurt, but again beneficial. And then got through the marathon, slower than I wanted, still under 4:30, but I wasn't able to maintain the pace, and the wind was awful on the day, so it was really quite tricky. But I think in terms of the actual race itself, I was very pleased with how it went. I finished it, which is the most important goal, but the training leading up to it was a little bit patchy, so I would have stuck more rigidly to an actual plan. And there are many out there you can follow, but I didn't actually have the know-how or the sense to do that. I'm vegan. And so there I was, first marathon done, and I came up the back of it absolutely thrilled and so excited about the possibility of doing it again. So I booked a marathon, and it was I found a flat course along the Thames, and that was in August. So first marathon Brighton April, second marathon start of August, and I actually purchased the Ben Parks marathon training plan, and it was really great because it gave you the workouts you need to do each week or throughout the week, and it also said and gave you details about what paces to run them. So what I would do is I had to look, I wanted to go for 4 hours for the marathon, and I looked at the paces associated with it, and I knew what pace I had to hold for particular exercises during the week, particular workouts, and obviously my race pace on the day. And I came off the back of my training for that the fittest I've ever felt. I was so up for the race, but the error I made was I was so focused on the pace and so focused on the time that I really didn't allow myself to enjoy it. And what happened was the wind on that day again was, I think, the strongest winds we'd had last year, so it was pretty evil. We had average weather throughout the week, and on the day, I mean, they actually cancelled events, but ours went ahead. And by the time I was coming back from 17 miles onwards, it was really hard work running into the wind. My cap blew off, and I really did enjoy it because I could start to see that time slipping away. And whilst I finished 10 minutes quicker than my first marathon, and I finished at all, of course, I just got too fixated on that goal time, and it kind of ruined it for me. But nevertheless, I came off that thinking I won't be beaten. I've got an opportunity here to use this training, use this fitness to do something different. So I sat down and I thought about what would be next. End of August, and I thought to myself, what challenge could I do? I thought, I know I've got it. I want to do an ultra. And again, not really understanding what that meant and not really knowing what was involved, I wanted to sign up for a 50k, and I had the event all picked out, and even had a coach picked out who knew the course and would no doubt be able to support me. I waited and they released all the events, this company, apart from the one I wanted. They pulled it. I still don't really know why. They've been doing it for the last 6-7 years, and then suddenly it's not there anymore. So me being me, and me relying on fate to bring me the race, I ended up finding a 60k race which involved even more local routes, so I signed up. That was the Fox race, and I was feeling really pumped about it. I'm really excited about the opportunities that it would allow me to experience and cool stuff like that. There I was with all this fitness, ready to roll. Ultra in April, and I thought it was great. I've got 6 months, build on this fitness, and I'll be more than ready to tackle a 40-mile distance. Then disaster struck, stepped off a curb, and my knee went, and I could barely walk on it. Stumbled home, and I was really
pretty devastated, because up until that point I'd had no real issues at all with running, and I suddenly realised, you know, this could really alter the way things are for me moving forward. Got a physio appointment, went through that process, managed to do a local 10k back half 2019, felt alright, felt okay, but I was still struggling a bit around Christmas time, even into January. I was feeling better, but feeling anxious about running and feeling a bit nervous about running at pace, especially downhill. Didn't want my knee to go again, and that's when it all clicked. Everything fell into place. I started to realise pace is key, and specifically those long, slow, methodical runs. Build up mileage slowly, being patient, taking your time. It is not a race. It's about building up slowly. And whilst, yes, I was carrying a level of fitness, I basically had to start from scratch. And I was building up those long runs, nice and slowly, from 10k up, until I got to a stage where, yeah, I was running. My last long run that I did a 20 mile on the Saturday, I think 5 or 6 on the Sunday, and I felt really good about it. My legs felt good, body felt good, and most importantly, mentally, I was so happy with where I was at. And that's key as well, mentally knowing that anything you put your mind to, you can achieve. I knew going into that 40-mile race it was going to be hard. It was way outside my comfort zone, definitely outside my level of fitness, definitely outside, if you like, in some respects, my ability to run it. But what I was going to do is take part, and I was going to get myself from the start to the finish and not worry at all about pace, about other people, about people who are faster, people who are slower, people who are wearing different clothing to me. I wasn't focused anymore on other people around me. I was focused on myself. I was focused on what I knew I could achieve. Now sadly, that ultra race has been postponed to September, and more recently you'd have seen I'm not going out as much, so that fitness base that I built up has no doubt dropped, but it's fine. I've got plenty of time to come back and train again. Lessons I've learnt though: slow down. It's not key to success to spend every single run running as fast as you can. So here's what I want you to take away from this video today. If I started my time again as a runner, I would use Couch to 5k. I would follow a plan. I would wear the right shoes. I would not allow myself to get swept up in the emotion of feeling like I'm too slow. I would take the time I need to rest and recover. I would, although eat well, eat correctly, eat the right foods, and that's linked to recovery as well. I would explore my local area more earlier on. I would run with others who are more experienced than me earlier on, and I wouldn't be afraid to ask for advice. But the biggest takeaway of all is to be comfortable with running slowly. Run slow, run further, be healthier, be fitter, be stronger, and reduce your chances of an injury.